Alright, so a few days ago I made a video about Resident Evil 4 Remake and how there was a supposed leak that Leon would have some kind of PTSD and depression and the whole tone of the game would change completely. And that did pretty good and a lot of you were fairly interested. So here we are with another one of another leak of this game that's apparently a thing. This one is in fact a massive list of things that is coming to the game that may or may not be true. Again, leaks being quote unquote leaks can be a bit of a interesting discussion. So again, take everything with a little bit of doubt. But we're going to go through all those points today, one by one, and kind of discuss the likelihood or the reason behind them. Should be fun. So sit back, relax. This might be a bit of a long one, and yeah, let's go through it all. Okay, so first and foremost, the game is apparently being codenamed currently as the Chainsaw Project. This is something a lot of video game developers do when a game hasn't been revealed yet or it's in kind of early stages of production. Call of Duty used to do it quite publicly. There'd always be a leak of a code name of a game that would end up being a COD. Other developers do it too, and it's essentially, again, a code name for a project they're working on that doesn't have a title or hasn't been announced yet. This one's very on the nose, so that's already kind of a red flag. Like, that's very on the nose. Obviously, it could be nothing. Like, there's other Capcom games I'm sure that have chainsaws in them, but you think of a chainsaw in a Capcom game, you're thinking of Dr. Salvador. Like, that's it. So, very kind of on the nose with that one. Next up, apparently Sony is offering to have this game as a PS5 timed exclusive between 6 months and a year. But it isn't anything concrete yet. I've heard this one many different times. I've heard this one on like 5 different occasions. That's always something that could or could not happen. That is not down to a leak. That is down to Sony or Microsoft, whoever it may be, making the deal, talking to Capcom and saying, look, can we have this game exclusively for a set amount of time? And that's a whole different thing. Would it be cool? Absolutely, because I'm a PlayStation guy. So having the game exclusively would be pretty nice. But at the end of the day, I want people to play the game. So I would rather it be out on everything immediately rather than a big percentage of player base having to wait. Next up, apparently this game is going to be next gen only, so that is PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. No Switch, no PS4 or Xbox One. I think we are getting slowly to that point now with games anyway. For instance, the new Spider-Man game that's coming out in 2023 isn't on PS4 at all. They've already said straight up that it's not coming out on last gen. I think we are kind of slowly getting towards that now. Obviously they do phase out games on older systems over time. So, again, if the game is supposedly coming out in 2023, it wouldn't be a surprise if that was the case, but at the end of the day, with PlayStation 5 still being quite hard to get, maybe they'll kind of, release on everything anyway, so we'll see with that. Next one is very interesting, and I'm sure people would have a lot of things to say about this. You can change the perspective between first and third person. This is something I feel like is good in a way. Resident Evil 4 is a third person shooter, after all. It's third person perspective, and I think most people would probably play it in third person, but for the newer people, people who've joined through 7 and 8 and prefer a first person perspective, having the choice would be good, and it would add a whole new perspective on the horror, third person being a bit more character focused, and then first person being a bit more cinematic, I would say. It's a player preference thing, and having both options would be good. So again, we'll see with that. Apparently there was going to be VR in the remake, but Oculus and Facebook did kind of jump in and do a Resident Evil 4 VR. So that got canned, which wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, I didn't even expect the Resident Evil 4 VR to even be a thing, and that is incredible. So, it doesn't matter because we already have it. Next up is photo mode. Yes please, I love photo mode in games. I used it so much in Resident Evil Village. I wish 7 had it. I wish they'd go back and update 7 and give it to that. But it does not. But yeah, photo mode, it's always a nice little feature. It's in a lot of games now, so it really wouldn't shock me if it was there as well. Now this next one is weird. This is weird, but we'll go through it anyway. So, Leon's in the game, and Ada's in the game. It is the same face models from the Resident Evil 2 remake, so obviously Leon and Ada will have the same face models from the 2 remake, but apparently And this is where it really starts to kind of go into that what the hell is going on here kind of area of the leaks. Apparently Claire's in this game. Why? I don't know. Like, would that even make sense? I have no idea. And also Leon has a beard now. That's a weird detail to throw into there. But yeah, Leon has a beard now. So, you know. Yeah. Next gen hair. Next up it says characters and enemies such as the Merchant and the Chainsaw Man, so Dr. Salvador, are more explored. It would be cool to see Dr. Salvador have his own, like, little bit, instead of him being introduced in that big herd of enemies at the beginning. That would be pretty cool. Merchant, I don't know. I kind of like the mysteriousness of the Merchant anyway, so I don't really know about that one, but if they want to add more depth to him, that's fine too. Next up, alternate skins and a classic soundtrack option. That would be very cool, honestly. Obviously 2 Remake had a lot of skins, 3 Remake had a few skins. 2 Remake also had the option to use the original soundtrack, 3 didn't, unfortunately. But those options are always nice. Obviously Resident Evil 4 does have quite a few skins anyway, between Leon and Ashley. So having those ones return, as well as, you know, some new ones would be pretty cool. Next up, considerably longer and bigger than the original. Now this concerns me a little bit, because if they add too much new stuff to the game, it's essentially just going to be a new game with Resident Evil 4 bits in it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they should add a lot to it. Add new areas if you want to, but not like lots, you know? Like the 2 Remake and the 3 Remake, well, the 2 Remake, I mean, not the 3 Remake, they removed more than they added. The 2 Remake added a few extra bits, but it did kind of keep close to the original. But adding a lot more to this game, again, it would make it feel like a new game, and people are buying the 4 Remake, not Resident Evil 4 2, you know? Like, it's, I don't know. You gotta be careful when it comes to adding content to remakes, because people are wanting to just play an updated version of the game they already love, not a new game, essentially. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that though. That's a weird one. Next up, it says semi-open world style. I don't really know how to kind of tackle that one. Maybe village-esque. You know how when you do a certain territory, you can go back to the village and it's like a hub. That may be what they're going for. But at the same time, each area in 4 is very unique and very separated. And there's really no reason to keep going back. So, yeah, that's a weird one as well. I don't know what they'll do. Who knows? I mean, Resident Evil in a sense is already open world, you know, like you can go back quite a ways, you can backtrack quite a lot to an extent, so, you know, I don't really know how that's going to work or what they'll do, but again, this might not even be true, so keep that in mind. The CP shop from 3 Remake and Village returns. This is actually a really good feature. I actually really like this. Essentially, you get a challenge page in the menus after you've finished the game, or I believe maybe even before you've even played the game, but some of them are locked. Essentially, you can do certain things in-game. For example, Village has some where you have to speedrun the game, you have to use just a knife, you have to do it without healing, you know, random requirements, you know, certain kills with certain weapons, you know. It's fun, it adds a lot of replayability, and you can use the CP to unlock, you know, again, like in Village it's a lot of collectibles and figures and stuff like that. But in 3 Remake, it's like, you can use it to unlock alternate skins, you can use it to unlock bonus weapons, like the hot knife, I forgot what it's called, hot knife, we'll call it hot knife. You can use it to unlock that, you can use it to unlock original Jill, like the STARS uniform Jill. And yeah, people seem to like it. Again, it has a lot of replayability and a lot of kind of extra things you can do, so I'm all for that. This one says the game has a lot more connections with the 2, 3 Remake and Village. Interesting. I'd imagine maybe that means they'll mention the events of 2 in the 4 Remake. They don't really mention 2 in 4. It's obviously like in the cutscene at the beginning they talk about Raccoon City and stuff like that, but you know, he doesn't actually really mention it. I think he says like one thing to Lewis where he says he was a cop for a day, and then that was it, because Raccoon City went to hell. So having it mentioned a bit more might be interesting. As for 3, it kind of falls under the same boat because they happen at the same time. So I guess mentioning that Raccoon City got destroyed would technically be mentioning 3 because that's when it happens, but you know, I don't know about that. And then Village, God, who knows, man? Unless they decide to make some of the characters related in that game, who knows? But Village is set so much later on that it's weird to even consider them mentioning that in this game. But yeah, that's essentially it. The whole list sounds very kind of wish listy and bucket listy. It just, some of it doesn't make sense, some of it does make sense, but only because that would be things that are probably discussed when a game like this comes out. But either way, you know, that's the big kind of list of leaks on Reddit. If you want to see the list, obviously I'll leave the link in the description. There's some brief stuff about Resident Evil 9 on there, but I don't even believe anything about that game yet. Like, I've seen plenty of things about that game in terms of leaks, and I don't buy any of it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Obviously leave your thoughts on, you know, what parts of this seem possible, and you know, what parts seem like complete bullshit, which some of it probably is. But yeah, just thought I'd share the remaining leaks of this game with you all. I think there's a few more, but nothing too out there. It's a lot of the same, really, in terms of the rest of them. But yeah, thank you for coming by. Again, leave your thoughts on it all in the comments, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for another video.